Welcome back to The Big Show. It's Alex Belford in the morning at Leeds Bradford Airport on a lovely Wednesday afternoon. The sun is shining and we're at the production office for Helicopter Heroes, which is doing the business at 9:15 on BBC One. And Ian's one of the most important people here. What do you do then?
Well, I'm the editor of the team. We're a very small team here. This is very unusual in that Helicopter Heroes is entirely edited on location at Leeds Bradford Airport. And the reason for that is that the helicopters don't spend all day in the air. So if we've got someone here flying, they're going to spend a lot of time on the ground. They would ordinarily not be doing very much, but we can edit at the same time as someone's flying. So it's not uncommon in these offices to see my VJs and producers sitting around in flying suits actually making television, and then a rather nice electronic doorbell goes off. That means the aircraft's being scrambled, and they then down tools, run downstairs, put their flying helmets on, pick up their cameras, and then go off and film. And that's really how life is here. And most of us fly. Most of us do a couple of days a week flying at least, and some do more than that.
I suppose the point of the programme is to raise the profile of the air ambulance, but it's going to be a boring programme if nothing happens. So you're kind of duplexed, aren't you, between stuff going on to make a programme and getting the show on the air?
Absolutely. I mean, we rely totally on the cooperation of the paramedics on the air ambulance, the pilots, the doctors, and the charity that keep the air ambulance in the air, but also the patients, and they're the most important people in this process. We are blessed with a lot of people who have undergone pretty awful experiences, some of them, who actually allow us to film their treatment and allow us to go and see them in hospital afterwards and allow us to follow their stories through. And some of the stories that we've captured on film are just truly inspiring. People who've survived and come back from things that, frankly, as far as some of the doctors are concerned, sometimes weren't even survivable.
And it must be interesting for them then to 6 months later turn on BBC One at 9:15 and see themselves. Because, of course, when you're going through it, often with many of the serious injuries that some of these people get, they wouldn't know anything about it. That must be strange. What reaction do you get from them?
I think we have quite a lot of the patients will come in and sometimes see the footage that has been shot at the time, and they are surprised by what happened. There are it's not uncommon for patients to just have no memories at all of their entire treatment, and some of them have very selective memories, so they'll remember very bizarre things that happened to them. They'll remember a small aspect for a very short period of the case, and often we think people are completely compos mentis and are talking to us, whatever, but later on they have no memory of that. And I think it must be quite interesting for them to watch it. But I think it's also it's some sort of resolution for them. They to see what happened to them, to see how they were treated, how they got to hospital, helps them build up that kind of mental picture of the process they've been through. And I think quite a lot of them we know say it's been quite therapeutic seeing it on television.
So tell me about your team then. How many people have you got working how long to get this show on air for 4 weeks?
We've got a team that really expands. It's in midwinter, it's as few as 4 people. By this time of year, it's actually up to about 10. And we have people working elsewhere on post-production and things. So we have a dubbing mixer who's working at the BBC in Leeds. We have an online editor who's working at Facilities House in Leeds. But the rest of the programme is made here. So we have it's a fairly elastic team. It's a very small team, and we do work most of the year round because thankfully the air ambulance doesn't get that many emergencies. It probably averages a couple of call outs a day, between 2 and 3, and to actually get the number of stories we need to fill 20 programmes, which is an awful lot of television airtime, does take us most of the year round.
All right, so we've talked about the production side of the programme. Let's talk about the helicopter and the team itself. How many people are here actually working on the air ambulance in Leeds?
Well, the aircraft actually seats 5 people, but when it goes out, normally has 2 paramedics, a pilot, sometimes a doctor, and usually one of our VJs who flies with a camera.
So I suppose you've got to keep out of the way, haven't you? Because they've got a job to do. I know you're trying to capture it. That's a tricky balance.
Absolutely. I mean, the main priority from our point of view is to never get in the way and always assist where we can. And it's not uncommon for our VJs to carry stretchers, to go and get medical equipment from the helicopter if necessary. Sometimes it's a very complex emergency. The paramedics have got their work cut out, and if we can actually help them and make their lives easier and help the patient as well as do our jobs, then that's great, and that's what we aim to do. Certainly once someone joins the team, their priorities are are to become first a safe aviator and then to do their television jobs, because clearly flying in a helicopter is a very safety critical job. So we have a full training syllabus they have to go through, and they know a fair bit about operating the aircraft before they ever fly in it, and it's important that they do that because aviation is one of those worlds where if you cut corners you have accidents, and clearly when you're flying around at 150 miles an hour you don't want to present a threat to the safety of the aircraft.
Equally, in terms of the emotion of your programme, it can be life and death. Let's face it, you're going out to the most serious of accidents. That's why you're called out. What training do you get for that, and how do you deal with the emotion of it?
We do deal with it. I mean, all the team have been actually on the same coping with trauma course that the BBC's war correspondents are sent on. And clearly you do at times, witness things that most people would choose not to witness. But they work in a very supportive environment, and they have very good relationships with the paramedics and pilots who are seeing the same things and often at far closer range. So and they talk about things, they defuse things in that way, and we deal with it. And I think everybody comes on the team is under no illusions that they're going to be working in an environment where they're going to see some of the worst road accidents on the roads, for instance, some of the worst things that can befall people. So that's just part of the job, I'm afraid, and we have to deal with it as such.
Equally, a big part of your job is to follow up stories where people are back at work and 100% again. It must defy belief sometimes, because when you see how awful some of these accidents are, it's amazing anybody gets out alive.
It is. I mean, one quickly learns not to make assumptions. Certainly, there are cases where doctors have said, I think this patient's unlikely to survive, and yet a few weeks later we've actually filmed them coming out of hospital. And there was a case of a lad called Callum Parkinson, who was on the series a couple of days ago from Huddersfield. Knocked out. He was knocked over outside his home. Had a very, very serious head injury, and the flying doctor, Jez Pinnell, told us, his outlook really isn't very good. And yet, a few months ago, we went back to his house and filmed the garden party his mum and dad organised, at which he was present to raise money for the Air Ambulance, because they felt they wanted to sort of repay the debt that they felt they owed the Air Ambulance charity. And Callum's walking around pretty much back to normal, and this was a child who was at death's door, literally, and he's far from alone. We have many cases like that, and it's really inspiring for the team to actually see what looks like a hopeless story turned around and have a happy ending. And I think that's one of the secrets of the programme. We do have quite a lot of stories like that, and we know from the feedback we get from our viewers that they like to see happy endings, and there are an awful lot of happy endings. It's really not a very bleak programme to watch.
Congratulations on a wonderful series. May it long reign, because it's a great ambassador for West Yorkshire as much as it is for you, the team, and the programme.
Well, long may it continue.